Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. You're calling on the Central Club phone in. How can I help?
Hi, mate. Well, first, just want to say it's good to speak to you because I think you're an inspiration.
Oh, thank you
What you've
so
done with
much.
recovery and that. And yeah, it was my partner who said I should ring in. Basically, I've just done 9 months in Featherstone, and I'm basically shocked at what I've seen being in the prison system. And I'm trying to just raise awareness about the things that are going on in there, and I'm trying to find a way to, get it investigated or something.
Yeah. Well, we've been covering a lot on the prison system lately. Myself and Harrison, we went into Park Prison last week, and to be
Yeah,
fair, they were very accommodating. They obviously knew they had visitors,
yeah,
but
they do. Don't they?
yeah, there was a report on the same week that there was 6 deaths in 3 weeks. So there's obviously something going on in prisons across the country. I've been to prison myself, and it's not a nice environment. And I'm sure
Yeah,
that the wider public will say, well, you know, deserve you right for committing a crime. But what is it
yeah.
that you're concerned about that is, not in the realms of acceptable with the prison system in Featherstone?
Well, I mean, I did the whole prison thing when I was like 17, juvies, YOs, in and out, all that. And then I sorted my life out. I'm an ex-addict in recovery. So this time I went to prison. I had a relapse, and I went in there sort of feeling like a member of society rather than a criminal, just going there to serve my time. And yeah, it was like it was like walking back into the 90s. There was, the technology's never been updated.
Mm.
It's infested with rats and mice. It's dirty. The wings are all smashed up. And I know it's a thing across the whole prison system. Like you said, there's people committing suicide. Um, there's lots of young staff that are. I was on the drug-free wing. We started a drug recovery wing. Fair play to them, and I was a mentor on there, trying to help the lads. We're doing peer-led groups. We're trying to run NA sessions.
Yeah.
And then you've got like young staff members with this culture of violence where they're running in on lads and with mental health issues and um, basically bullying lads. And then you've got these young staff calling with no training, calling lads crackheads and saying, "Oh, you're all crackheads." And
Really?
I just feel like, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And even the shout out to the SMO officers, the substance misuse officers, who have got a little bit of training. That they say, "Listen, that shouldn't be happening, and we need better training." But they basically say, "Our hands are tied. There's nothing we can do." But I feel like we're
What the
emulating the American
fuck?
prison system when we should be aiming for something like, somewhere like Norway where rehabilitation properly works. To throw away the key tough on crime thing has been proven to create more victims. So, like you say, for those people that say, "Oh, well, you deserve it. You're all, you shouldn't commit crime." It's not about the punishment. It's about making sure that there's no new victims and stopping crime. And tough on
Yeah.
crime just doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
It just doesn't.
there's that famous saying in it, prison is your punishment. You don't go to prison to be punished.
Yeah,
And I've been on both normal population, let's say, and I've been on drug wings. And the
yeah,
stigma of when I was in Stoke Heath, I was on a drug wing because I was on a methadone script. And
yeah,
the stigma of being on that wing, you might as well have been on a non-swing. Like
yeah.
it wasn't that bad, obviously. But it's
But
like,
yeah,
you're on the meth wing, you're on the meth wing. And that's not just from inmates. I've seen it
yeah.
myself with staff. And you're right. Like, what kind of training is in place there for that? You could be on
Yeah, because
methadone for many reasons.
and they in Featherstone they treat them like second class citizens. I mean, we all have to go and stand in a. I mean, I'm a subutex myself, so I'm not ashamed of that. I go every day. You have to stand in a big meth queue where everyone goes past to work, and it's all the jokes and everyone laughing. There's no privacy. There's no humanity there. It's degrading and it's against human rights. I think to not suffer degradation and yeah, the stigma is just horrible and. I've been Stoke myself, and the staff there are something else, aren't they? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're like, it's our jail, and we'll treat you how we feel.
Yeah. So
I,
what else are you seeing in there? Like, for you to be
I,
concerned, obviously, as someone who's been to prison a few times, what's
yeah,
concerned you?
Well, one thing as well that's concerned me is, apart from people killing themselves, the staff having relationships with inmates,
Wow.
all that, there's all the normal, bad food, all that, cell phones going off. But it's a culture of violence against prisoners. So like, they basically, the staff, the young staff come in, they shadow him for a few days, and then the next thing they're running a spur, and they're basically told, you can imagine what they're told. Listen, they're all trying to blag you. They're all after something. Don't give them anything. Don't give them an inch. And then that gets passed on. There's young SOs that rise up by basically bullying inmates. And
Wow.
there's one thing. There's mental health crisis. There's so many lads in crisis. The doctors are taking their medication off and ripping them all off their mental health meds because they think everyone's abusing everything. And for example, one lad was having an epileptic fit. They ran in, slapped the cuffs on him, and told everyone, "Oh, he's just mambered up,"
Fucking
and he's
hell.
banging his head on the floor and that, and he's actually cuffed up, and because they can't tell the difference, they're not trained. And another thing that really bothered me was you get a lot of people that say, "Oh, look at these death heads," the ones that go behind the door on voluntary bang up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of that in Featherstone. In most prisons, they move the wing, don't they, or
Move
they
the
move
wing,
them
yeah.
prisons. In Featherstone, they don't. They leave them behind the door, and there's lads behind the door for 3-4 months, and that's no word of a lie. And no one's got sympathy for them because everyone's like, well, they shouldn't have took drugs. But you know what it's like being an addict. You want a wing, you go to a drug-free wing thinking it's going to not have any drugs, and then there's lads pushing spice on there, throwing it out on strap. These lads have, they end up behind the door, and you're not supposed to spend more than 21 days. And if you're on CC, you see a chaplain every day, you see a nurse every day, you see a governor every day. And if it's after 42 days, the Secretary of State has to sign off on it. That's how serious it's supposed to be. These lads aren't even getting exercise, and they're being told that they're staying behind the door for 4-5 months.
Wow.
And they're being told, well, it's their choice. I brought it up with safer custody as a mentor. I said, what are you doing for these lads? Well, it's their choice. They choose to stay behind the door. They could come out if they wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to say, being a peer mentor yourself, surely, I wish I was a peer mentor. They would never give me the job, but like that's a good job. So, for you to, I'm not to say, myself, I'd say, I look at you, you screwboy. Back when I was in jail,
Yeah,
I'm not calling you a screwboy, but what I'm trying to say is, for the people
yeah,
who don't know, you have more of a relationship with the officers because you're let out of your cell more. You probably go to different wings. So for you to be having that close relationship with them and still being concerned, there must be a
yeah.
problem there.
Well, that's something that I feel like I heard a lot more stuff because of that trusted relationship. Because I'm just playing the game,
Yeah.
like you say, people call you a screwboy, whatever. I'm doing what I can do to get my tag, and I got home early. Touch wood, I stay home. I never throw any other prisoner in. Never did, anything that crossed the line because it's us versus them at the end of the day. But I heard a lot of stuff because the officers let the guard down around me. And some of the stuff they're telling me, oh, we dropped this lad in the blind spot. They battered one lad who, to be fair, he did spit at an officer, spat at an SO. They battered him, and then the officer's telling me this like it's funny. He's going, oh, that lad, we battered him on in the blind spot. Then we got him down the block, and then when he got out, he's going to get recalled because we're doing him for attacking an emergency worker when he was getting dragged down the block, and
Fucking
they're laughing about it. And I'm thinking, you can't have it both ways. You're either battering him, which is fair enough because he spat at you, or you're nicking him. You
yeah,
can't
you can't do
you
the
can't have
both.
you can't do both. And I'm thinking that, and I'm thinking, wow, they're telling me this like that's how comfortable they are in what they're doing. They're telling me this,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking, wow, that could be me one day. That could be, my man. That could be my mate. Do you know what I mean? It's bad.
What
They,
what about, sorry, obviously, is there weapons and stuff in there? Like, what about people bringing in stuff? Have you got officers bringing stuff in the jail? What's that looking like?
yeah, there was an officer that was having a relationship with a lad on this. There's two on my wing while I was there.
Some little
One, I think she was
slapper.
more. Yeah, she was bad. She was my personal officer, but I never had a personal officer session with her because he was having all the sessions, I think. But yeah, she was having a relationship with him. She got nicked and all that, and a few of the lads got moved. And then there was another one a few months later. I don't know whether she'd been bringing stuff in, but she'd been doing something. I didn't catch the full story on that, so I wouldn't like to speculate. But I know she got nicked on her way in. And then just before I got out, they locked us down for 3 days and kept us on 72-hour bang up, controlled unlock and all that. And we were like, wow, what's going on? And what we heard through the officers, what they were finding these carbon fiber blades, and they were saying, listen, these have been bought in shops. And they were trying to say they've been flown in on drones and all that, but between the lads, we were saying, listen, that hasn't happened. They've come in through the officers. They must have.
Wow.
They're finding zombie knives and stuff in jail. Do you know what I mean? Carbon
Zombie
fiber, so
knives
they
in
can
jail in a
zombie
British
knives. Yeah,
prison.
yeah, mad in it.
Yeah,
Absolutely mad.
you know, I can't imagine a drone carrying a couple of zombie knives, like dropping them down,
Yeah,
and
I know.
hiding it. But you're more than likely to have an officer to do that because you've got scanners and
Yeah,
stuff in the visit rooms as well, and it's hard for
yeah.
your nan's not going to bring a zombie knife in, is she? You know,
No,
you hear that
exactly.
grandmothers and parents and girlfriends bring drugs in, yeah, but you're not bringing a zombie knife in here.
I know. And to be fair, the zombie knife thing was what an officer had reported that he'd seen one during an incident. A lad got his face slashed, which is what initiated the lockdown. But I don't. We've only got the officer's word that it was actually a zombie knife, and they did find 3 knives, but they didn't find the zombie knife. They
Wow.
just found 3 carbon fiber, I think, flick type blades, and then they let us out after the 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's a bit
That's
nuts.
really concerning. Really
It
concerning.
is, yeah. Do you know
And
the main concerning thing as well? I feel sorry. It was just when I've been in prison when I was younger, I always felt if anything happened, if anything went off, it you were kind of safe. Do you
you'll
know what
be
I mean? The
safe,
officers
yeah.
knew what they were doing. If there was an emergency, say a medical emergency, you knew they'd get to you in time. If someone attacked you with a knife or something, they'd jump in. You felt safe relatively. I feel like this time, uh, the left arm didn't know what the right arm's doing, and I feel like it's the type of place where serious things are happening, and none of these staff know how to react. They're not trained, and
Yeah,
it's nothing personal against the staff. It's just they're not well trained enough.
I
They've
think,
got rid of all the good officers and
yeah.
replaced them with these younger ones.
Well, that's it. Unfortunately, people age, people retire.
Yeah,
There's been a big change in my local jail in Cardiff. We interviewed an officer very early on the Central Club, Mr. Rundle, who
yeah,
left, and he left because he said it wasn't the same. And the new influx of officers are these officers who are young, upstart, cheeky, haven't got a clue. Some of them doing it just for the gram, I'm their photo
yeah,
probably. I'm a prison officer.
yeah.
As sad as it sounds, that's what people do. People do it for status, don't they? And
I had one that said she did it for a bet. Her mum bet her that she couldn't do it, so she applied for it. 18 years old, and now she's working in prison. It's mad.
what the fuck?
I
What the
know.
fuck, like, innit?
I know. Absolutely insane. And I don't know. It's just concerning. And
Yeah,
some of
yeah. And
the
what?
some of the
And
SO,
you're saying that these women officers are getting fucked out, left, right, and center.
yeah, basically, and these are the ones that we just know about. And there's only 2 on our wing, so you can imagine the whole prison and the whole prison system.
But
You're hearing
how?
stories
How?
all the
What
time.
are you saying? Like, look, from the ones that you know, obviously we see CCTV on, that goes on social media. We hear stories on
Yeah,
podcast. How are these fucking, like? Are they having an affair in the cell or like on?
the ones on our wing. I mean, it was blatant. I don't know how they didn't get onto it because all the lads knew. She got her hair spat in one day by a lad, and the lad who I don't really want to name him, but he was the number one surgery, and he's grabbing hold of her when it happened, and he's screaming, "Tell me you did it! Tell me you did it!" And she wouldn't tell him, and everyone's like, "Wow, that's mad." They'd go and get the trolley every day together, and because he was surgery, they'd get let out again at night. So you'd hear
Oh,
him all giggling and that in the food
he was
room.
triggered. He
When
was triggered by the spit because this is chick, like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, and everyone at that time, everyone was like, "Wow, something's going on there." But you
The
hear
thing is,
stories in the
yeah, but the thing is,
go
like,
on.
it is mad. But I knew someone, a friend of mine, who was shagging a screw, and I thought it was
Yeah,
fucking wicked. But you could see other inmates were really jealous, and they grass them
yeah,
up. Then, like, they're the grasses, the inmates. They're like, she's
yeah,
fucking so
yeah,
and so because they're not getting a blowjob in the nights
yeah.
off the.
They're not getting a stick brought in,
What,
are they?
what, what
So
was the
they,
inmate like? Was she a fatty as well? Was she ugly? I bet she was ugly as well.
no, no, no. She was not.
Oh,
She was
okay.
all right. She was she had a lot of makeup and all that. She's only young, bless her, and I don't really hold it against her, but
That
she
was a
seems
joke
sound.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bad joke.
no. but there is a oh, there's a few. There's a lot. I see it
Yeah.
always in the Converse, in the Inside Times. There's always stories of like nurses getting fucked out, and they're bringing in stuff for
They're
lads, but
they're
they
the
always make out
worst.
like
They're the
it's
worst.
yeah.
The
They always
nurses are the
make out like
worst.
it's the
Is
lads. Yeah, they make out like it's the lads manipulating the women. But they're the lads are the ones in the vulnerable situation. Sometimes you're not going to say
well,
no, are you?
I'm
And they
going to
give you
tell
the
you
come
something
on.
now. So I was on TikTok flicking as you do, and there
Yeah,
was this one video, this TikTok. It must be like a trend, and it's like a song that plays, and it's like, look, me and my job looking at dum dum dum, and it does all that like, and
yeah.
it's a nurse basically saying me the first time I went into the Brixton jail or something, and she's like pointing like smitten all over these inmates, and you're like these,
Wow.
yeah, like this is real shit. Like, do you know what I mean? And these people are abusing their power like through.
Yeah.
It's
All,
sad,
all,
man.
all the women that come in, and my missus always says on a visit, she sees all the women that are walking around on the visits, the officers, and they're all plastered in makeup and that, and it's like, hold on, what? Who are you getting dressed up for? All the
Peacocking,
ones that
innit?
come in,
Yeah, they're peacocking.
yeah, yeah, peacocking, all the OMU staff, all the women that do all these mental healthy type jobs. They come in and they're plastered in makeup. They've got these little short, the shortest skirts they can get away with, and that,
Yeah. And
and
the
it's
other
just
officers,
madness.
the main, whether it's a jealousy thing or a professional thing, but the male officers, they surely must hate that, the fact that the inmates are sleeping with the female officers. I'd imagine so anyway.
Yeah, they really do, and it's just mad how unself-aware they are. But none of them are properly trained in that, and
No.
they don't know where that line is. Like, the old school officers, the ones they got rid of because they were all on high wages, and they thought, well, we could have three young officers for the price of one of
Yeah.
these, so we'll get rid of these. But those older officers knew where the line
They
was.
they were staunch. Yeah. They were staunch.
Yeah, they were staunch, and you knew if you stepped over the line, you knew where you stood. And I respect those officers because at least most of them, they're not kind of person you chill with on the out. I don't, but I've got respect for them because you know where the line is and you know not to cross
Yeah.
it. These younger ones don't know where the line is, and they frequently cross it, and you see them doing things that they really shouldn't do. They take stuff personally.
Yeah.
You can't take stuff personally in this job. You've got
Yeah,
someone
I
with
know
mental
that
health
we
issues.
had an officer like that. Stadio, his name was. He was an ex-military
Yeah,
guy, and like he'd be on A wing, and the bell would be going off on D wing, and you'd have to leave one officer on A wing when the others go, but he would just go wherever the drama was. He was there, like he loved the
yeah, first
drama.
one in.
Yeah, and he'd be dishing out basics and warnings and left, right, and
Yeah,
center. Just a horrible, horrible man. Like proper jobs worth
yeah,
as well. But like let's be real. A lot of us inmates who have been in the system, we've probably been in there more than once as well. Like a lot of people get
yeah,
institutionalized, and you
yeah,
build a rapport with these officers who you've been in there with from day one. You feel like you can trust them. You can go to them
yeah,
for issues, and they can help you with whatever that may be. Reading a letter, probably go to an inmate, but whether that's trying to get a phone call or trying to sort this
yeah,
visit out, they will help you. These new inmates come on with their attitude and just they're just whiter than white, and they end up being the most corrupt.
yeah. And they share stuff behind that other prisoners have been talking about. There was
Yeah,
one that it was around the time this happened with the one shagging. It was my mate. He was going through some issues with his missus, and everyone sort of knew he was a bit suicidal and he was having issues and that. And I was trying to help him out. And then this female officer, young girl, comes to his cell and goes, "Oh, I just wanted to see if you're right. I read your letter, and I know what's going on with your missus and that." And he went absolutely mad. He went, "What do you mean, fucking mean you've read my letter?" And when he told me that, I was just in disbelief at how she thought that it's okay to take his letter out the pile because she thinks he's going through something
what a
and
freak.
read his letter. Do you know what I mean? That there's rules and
Yeah.
regulations for that kind of stuff. And the fact that she thought she could do that just shows
Well,
she
you
thought she was
have
doing
you have
something
a, you
good.
will have designated staff to read those letters when they come in. Not
Yeah,
not the random officer who works on the wing.
yeah. You can't
That's
just
just
pick up
wrong.
people's letters. Yeah,
I don't know if that's if that is how it is. Designated officers. I know when they come in, they have to check the letters, but surely a normal officer can't do that. Hey, listen. Sorry, what's your name again?
Rob, it is.
Rob, nice to meet you. We're
Yeah, nice
strapped
to
for
meet you, Colin,
time.
mate.
Just quickly though,
Yeah, no worries.
what was the worst thing you saw in your time on that sentence?
The worst thing. I think the worst thing was that when they slapped the lad in cuffs that was having the epileptic fit. Um, that was probably the worst thing. Or their staff seen him running in on one lad, absolutely battered him, and he barely done nothing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'd go with the epileptic one because it was
Yeah.
just, you could see he was having an epileptic
I
fit, and
think
they threw the cuffs on him.
I think the saddest thing about that and the most concerning thing is, you know, you're not telling me about an inmate conflicting pain on another inmate. You're talking about the staffs. It's what the staff
Yeah,
done, which is the worst thing, and that's the problem here. And Rob, I hope this phone call can maybe raise a bit of awareness on it, and maybe we can have a chat, you know, out of hours as well. Give me a message. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're an inspiration. I love what you're doing, and crack on with it, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Rob. You take care. Stay central.
Take care, brother. Bye.
Yeah, that prison system's fucked, mate. Honestly, it's and I get it. I get how people are gonna say, "Well, they're fucking criminals," but you know, until you've been in that situation, you know, you feel so helpless. It's disgusting, and I've always had concerns about the system, but we're still here now. You know, 5 years on since me going in, and this stuff's still happening, and it don't get reported. Very sad. Rob, thanks for calling.